April 20th, 2012 started out the most joyous day of our life, and then it quickly turned to one of the darkest days. Scott and I got married June 27th, 2009, and quickly after we got married, we wanted to have kids. We went through lots of struggles trying to conceive, and we tried everything from surgeries and procedures to try to get pregnant. April 20th, 2012, the day came to finally take another test, and test after test, they were all negative, and this day I had to look again. It was finally positive. We were pregnant. It was amazing.
So that morning was a very exciting time for us. Obviously, we found out that we were pregnant with our first child, and it was a culmination of months and months of trying and months of procedures, surgeries, testing, and it was a joyous time. Obviously, my wife was full of joy. I mean, there was just this sparkle in her face that day. I mean, it's what she had dreamed of. I was joyful, but a completely different angle of joy. I was joyful that we had gotten what we wanted. We had gotten pregnant, but I also was just completely insane because I was celebrating not only with my wife in that moment, but I was celebrating with another woman that I was having a relationship with that my wife didn't even know about. It was one relationship of many that had been going on in our marriage up to that point.
So that night we went out to celebrate. We went to dinner, and we were just so overjoyed with the expectation of this baby coming, and we started to plan for how we were going to tell family and reveal the gender and think of names and just plan ahead for the future of our family. Just thinking ahead on how amazing of a father Scott's going to be, and the mom that I would love to be for this child and can be.
As we typically did in that season of our lives, going out and having drinks was normal, so I decided to just live it up that night and celebrate the way that I always knew how to. And as the night went on, I continued to have more drinks and began to be more intoxicated. And as that happened, I got more bold. I was literally sitting there at the table, celebrating with my wife and having a text conversation with this other woman. And my wife is 3 feet right there from me. And completely thinking that was sane in my mind at that time. And that was just normal. I remember us leaving the restaurant and I was drunk at that point. I was kind of stumbling out of the restaurant, and Erin decided to drive us home. And crazy, I still was texting this woman even while we're heading home. Like, I remember before even getting in the car, I was looking at my phone, having this conversation, even on the way home, still having this texting conversation with this woman. Got home and I just passed out. I remember just kind of typical when we would go out at night. I just came home and got on the couch, threw the TV on, and just kind of fell asleep at that point.
I noticed his phone was still lighting up and getting messages, so I went over and picked it up. And he was just texting with this other woman, and I couldn't believe what I was reading. My whole world just crushed. I couldn't believe it to be true. It just seemed like such a nightmare. It didn't seem like this could be happening to us. I didn't even know who my husband was. It didn't seem real. Our lives were just shattered. My heart was just shattered right then in that moment. Just completely shattered.
I remember waking up and hearing a voice and a tone from my wife that I had never heard before. There was an anger, there was just a crying, screaming, and I didn't know what was going on.
I remember just asking him, like, who are you talking to? Is this for real? He just denied it, and he was saying he was kidding, and I just was in a frenzy.
At that moment, my whole body was in a flight mode. I had to figure out a way to cover this up. So I tried to explain it away. I tried to just laugh it off. At that moment, it was like whatever I could do to get out of there unharmed is what I was gonna do. We were arguing back and forth, and she took off with my phone. And at this moment, I'm panicking because I can't remember what else is on my phone that she could have access to see. Because I knew that, okay, I got caught in this one relationship, but there were several others that I was having. So I was panicking, I was pacing, I was trying to figure out what my next move was, because all I cared about was keeping myself protected through all that.
I was in such a shock of everything that was happening. And I was so angry and crushed. I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do.
We were trying to figure out a way to help control this problem that I had. So we had gone to some friends for just couples counseling, friends from our church, and we came up with some plans, some things to try to manage this. My heart had never really changed in that process, so I continued to go back to what my heart loved.
Scott continued to pursue his sin. I caught him 2 other times. In that, over the course of a year and a half, we sought more counselors and marriage counselors, and nothing was working. I was doing everything I could to put boundaries up and to help him be successful and succeed. The day finally came of just some spark of hope with Vivian's birth. Our daughter was born November 8th. It was just such a joyful time for me that there is some goodness going on and through this, and that there could be a change. It just brought so much hope into what our marriage could be like in raising this child together, and that it could really spark things to be better and help change our marriage and my husband to be a better father and me a better mother. But it really didn't. It was just continued to get harder.
That was a moment that as a father, I would have thought maybe would just change me. Kind of like when I got married, like I was gonna be changed miraculously, and it didn't happen. Even into a week after her first birthday, I was pursuing my sin. I created a fake Facebook page to reach out to these women that I had been with in the past. And at that point, Erin had just said, enough is enough. She kicked me out of the house and said, you have to get professional help and you need to go away somewhere.
I just had to let go and let God fix him, because I couldn't fix him anymore. I had to just let go. And that's when we came across Pure Life Ministries.
If I would have known what I was going to be exposed to at Pure Life before I got there, honestly, I wouldn't have gone. Because all I really wanted was just a quick fix so I can go back to my life and have my world. But what I didn't realize is the Lord had much, much bigger plans for me.
So after a month when Scott was in the program, we were allowed to go down and visit. And honestly, I didn't want to go see him. I only felt urged to go visit so that our daughter Vivian could see her daddy. The heartache and pain of all of this just drove me to the Lord and to seek him and read his word like I never had before. I had a really hard time forgiving Scott. It was a process. I didn't believe that he deserved to be forgiven. After all that he did and how much he hurt me, I didn't believe that he deserved it. But the Lord did a work in my heart to make it real in my heart for what Jesus did for me and how he forgave me for all of my sins, and that's how I can forgive Scott fully from my heart. I was driving back home, and I felt like the Lord kept saying, you need to do this now, you need to forgive him. And I was fighting it. I was fighting the battle of it. And a song came on the radio of forgiveness. I was like, okay, Lord, this is you. I turned my car around and went back, and I found Scott. He was actually in the chapel, and I just said I had to talk to him. He came out to the car, and I just told him that I know that despite everything that he did to me to hurt me, that God has done a work in my heart, and because Jesus has forgiven me, that I forgive him. I told him, I forgive you for everything that you've done. I forgive you.
It was about a month after my wife had come to visit, and she had forgiven me, and I was just alone with the Lord. And he began to speak to me in ways I'd never felt before. And he began to show me that through all the lies and cheating and stealing and drunkenness and just everything that I had pursued my whole life that I thought was bringing me joy, he showed me that he still loved me and that he had greater plans for my life. And I can remember being in that room. It was one afternoon, and it was a sweet time with the Lord. He just spoke to my heart, and he said he just wanted everything. And I said, absolutely. I'll lay everything down for you, Lord. What I've seen you do in my heart, in my life already, I'll give you everything. And so I just looked up to the heavens and just said, Jesus, I'm yours forever. I'll give you everything. Because what you've given me, I can never replace. I can never pay back. And I'm grateful for all that you've done in my life. So after that sweet moment with the Lord, and just my life began to just completely change. And the program was just completely, it was all about pursuing the Lord. And I had the next several months of just heart operations and just foundations just being built inside of me of who he wanted me to be and who I was destined to be from the beginning. And he began to just give me a perspective of what this life is supposed to be about. That it wasn't supposed to be about my career and my status and how I looked, but it was about serving and being lowly and doing things for other people and being a servant to my family and a complete change, a complete shift of what I thought this world was about. And the program just continued to just pour these godly truths in my heart that God was going to use over the next months and years of my life here on this earth.
I just kept noticing that there was change in him. The Lord was softening him and breaking him like I've never seen before. He was just more humble, more concerned with me and how I was feeling and what I was going through. So the man that I dropped off in January at Pure Life was not the same man that I picked up. He was completely different, completely changed from the inside out. Things that he used to love and pursue, he didn't want to have anything to do with anymore. And it was just amazing.
So we returned home from Pure Life after I graduated the program, and our marriage had a new beginning. We had a fresh start. The Lord had changed us, and we began to create an environment that honored the Lord in our home, in our lifestyle.
just doing away with TV and outside atmosphere things that could just keep our eyes away from the Lord.
It's hard to live in the world and not be of it. I mean, it's a challenge every day. That's why we focused right out of the gate, we focused on making this house our safe haven. You know, Pure Life would tell us, like, this is what you need to do to your home. You need to make it your sanctuary. And hearing that, but then after coming home and just really seeing how dark our world really is, realizing the importance of that, we limit ourselves as much as we can on a daily basis to what we expose ourselves to. And that doesn't mean we don't enjoy entertainment. That doesn't mean we don't enjoy things, but we still know that we have to put a wall of protection around our hearts especially. So now there's a conscious effort, there's a thought process before we expose ourselves to things. Is this going to set us back in our walk with the Lord? Is this going to influence our minds? Is this going to do something to take us further away from the Lord? And we have those, we have those conversations or those thoughts go into our world before we entertain or before we allow our kids to be entertained. We would have never thought about the types of movies as much or TV shows that our kids watch, like we do now, and just all the screens that are available for kids now, screen times and iPads and phones, and having to just realize that this kind of stuff is gonna mold these kids' lives, and trying to just be cautious of what we expose them to that we never really would have processed as much, I think, in our past life. Our date nights used to be going out to a nice restaurant and dinner, drinks, all that. And our date nights then, when we came back, we're going to prayer services and prayer nights and, serving at the church. And it was just the life that I never wanted to have, because that was not who I ever wanted to be, was what I found the most joy in becoming. I used to make fun of that guy, and I became that guy and loved being that guy. And it was just amazing what the Lord had done in my heart through all that. Both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, seeking the Lord just made everything better in our marriage. We just see how we humble ourselves at the feet of Jesus, and everything across the board gets better. Communication, how to parent, how to handle problems.
Intimacy, every aspect of our marriage was just completely new and changed because of what the Lord had done in our hearts. If I stopped pursuing the Lord, like, we were always open about that. Like, if I stopped pursuing the Lord, I will go back into my lifestyle. It might not happen the next day, but that's where I was going to find victory, was pursuing Jesus. And if I stopped that, my flesh is my flesh, and we knew the outcome.
Our marriage has just been getting stronger and stronger, and we have 3 kids now, and it's been 5 years, a little over 5 years since just the depths of darkness of Scott's sin came out. And in July 13th, 2017, again, we were once hit with some devastating news.
So after receiving this news that we got, I just knew inside of me that all that we have been through, that our only way to get through this, that we must go forward on our knees. And I can remember even the day that we found out, my mom, I've never seen her just that hysterical and just crying and just yelling on the phone like it was like the worst thing that could possibly happen. And I just remember, like, something inside of me, and obviously it was the Lord, just told my mom, it was just, Mom, we are going to praise Jesus every day in this. No matter what our eyes see, our hearts are just going to praise the Lord through every day of this journey.
We had taken our baby girl in for an ultrasound, and it was revealed that she has stage 4 high-risk neuroblastoma cancer. Yeah.
It was our firstborn, our baby girl. And she was just so healthy and normal.
Just full of life, joy. And there seemed to be nothing wrong with her. She just started to have leg pain, and it just kept getting worse to a point where she couldn't walk. And it just didn't seem like it could be, because she was looking so healthy and normal. Vivian was the baby girl that God used to shed light on Scott's sin, to even start the beginning process of redeeming our marriage, and how God has just used her to comfort me during Scott's time away, and all the joy that she brings to our lives. We were just crushed to find out the news that she had cancer. And to this extent, even the scans that revealed it all throughout her body and lit up all in her bones. It was all over.
Yeah. The doctor came in after the ultrasound. This doctor comes in to tell us what's going on, and at this point we don't know what's happening. We just know that there's this doctor in front of us, and we don't know what he's about to tell us. And then he proceeds to tell us that there is a tumor inside of Vivian, and that he was very confident that it was cancerous, that it was neuroblastoma. And looking back now, it was God's protection, because this doctor happened to be probably the world's greatest children's oncologist for neuroblastoma cancer, and he just happened to be in the hospital that day that we had the ultrasound done. And he quickly, at that moment, he told us we had to go straight downtown to the main campus children's hospital, and that he had a series of tests and procedures already lined up to happen.
Yeah, right away we were admitted for MRIs and all kinds of scans, and she was going to have surgery the next day to put in a central line in her chest to be able to deliver medicine and whatnot. But this was the man that wrote the protocol for the country, and God already put him in front of us on this journey, and that was such a gift.
And a day before, everything was just so normal. There was no tubes in our baby girl. There was no word of cancer in our family. And you're just sitting there like, God, how did we get here? Like, why? Why? Like, I know you had I thought we had different plans, But not my daughter. Give me the cancer, but not my daughter, not my baby girl.
So shortly after we had been at the hospital for a few days gathering information, the doctors got us together for a plan for the next 1.5 to 2 years of treatment.
It was really hard for me when they were going through all of the different types of chemos and all the types of therapies, because they started to explain what some of the side effects could be from these treatments. I mean, I remember one of them being that she could possibly lose her hearing permanently. Some of the chemos could create cancers, different types of cancers. And you're just sitting there like, I don't want that stuff to go in her body. You know, like as a father, as a parent, like your whole job is to protect your kid in every possible way. And now you're telling me that the only way that we can treat this is to put this poison in her body, things that could cause all these things to happen. And I just remember like going to the Lord and saying, I have no control in this situation, Jesus. Like you've put me in a position where I have no control. Early on, I can remember the first procedure she had to go through and the first time she was put to sleep. And just that feeling, like watching your baby girl put to sleep. But I remember our instinct was, instead of sitting in the waiting room and just waiting for this procedure to be done, our instinct was to go straight to the chapel inside the hospital. We just put worship music on and we just worshiped the Lord. And it was just Erin and I in this chapel just praising Jesus and saying, God, like this is your child, and just believing that he was involved in every aspect of what was happening before our eyes.
Just that moment, the peace that God just provided over us and just flooded us with, it just didn't make sense. It was beyond understanding. He just gave us such a peace in those moments of fear and worry and what's going to happen next. And God he just moves in those ways. He moves when we go to prayer and we go to worship him. He just lifts the burdens and he carries them for us. And throughout many trips to the hospital, and we just kept doing that because he keeps showing up. So for the first 6 months of Vivian's therapy, the cancer just kept getting worse. We didn't have any breakthrough in treatments that were working, the chemotherapies, the radiation, nothing was working. We kept battling on our knees. After this new round of treatment, immunotherapy, we had scans that day on Wednesday, and the doctor, he called us and said, we're seeing significant changes in her cancer. Significant changes. Good enough for surgery to have her tumor removed. It was such a breakthrough moment that we just fell to the floor on our knees, just thanking God for breakthroughs. And
our first reaction was, the doctor's still on the phone, and our first reaction was, we just both were on our knees praising the Lord, because we got to witness what we believed was going to happen. We got to witness the miracles that we saw in our own marriage, that we saw in our own hearts. We got to see his mighty work again. And we had been praying, and people all over this country had been praying to see a miracle. And it was like, Lord, you're doing it right now before our eyes. And it was so powerful and so amazing. What's been amazing to witness is through all this, the Lord has given us peace and joy that we don't even feel like we're portraying. On several occasions, there's been doctors and nurses that have come into our room at the hospital when we're staying there that'll say there just feels like something different in this room. There's an atmosphere that's different. There's just a peace in this room that we don't see in most of the rooms that we go into with kids that have cancer.
And they even talk about Vivian, how kids that have gone through all this chemo and all this type of therapy don't have this much life in them. I mean, she's jumping on the beds and running up and down the hallways, and they just are amazed at what they're seeing. And even during the surgery, when they removed the tumor, the surgeon's exact words were, "I was surprised at how easy it was to remove this tumor that he thought was going to take hours. Literally just took like 20 or 30 minutes to take out." And that was all because, it was funny because it was all because of the Lord. Like we weren't surprised when the doctor said that. It's like, we know what God does. We have seen it.
Vivian has a long road ahead of her still, as far as treatments and beating this cancer. But we know that the Lord's hand is all over her and is with her along the way.
What we've witnessed in our hearts in this marriage, we know who holds her future and our future. And our hope, trust, and faith is fully in the healing, redeeming power of Jesus Christ. And we know that because of that, our future is bright.